U.S. history is not just a timeline of events. It reflects the struggles, triumphs, and changes that have shaped the nation. We have included questions from the signing of the Declaration to key moments in history like the Civil Rights Movement and more. Whether used in a classroom setting, during history clubs, or at trivia nights, these questions encourage participants to think critically about their nation's past while having fun. Let's test your knowledge. What was the significance of the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763? A. Strengthened British control. B. Expanded colonial trade. C. Shifted colonial boundaries. D. Gained independence. The correct answer is C. Shifted colonial boundaries. The French and Indian War shifted colonial boundaries, giving Britain control over French territories. What was the main goal of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s? A. Promote women's rights. B. Expand westward. C. Reduce taxes. D. End racial discrimination. The correct answer is D. End racial discrimination. The civil rights movement aimed to end racial discrimination and achieve equality. What was the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890? A. Ended slavery. B. Expanded railroads. C. Promoted trade. D. Banned monopolies. The correct answer is D. Banned monopolies. The Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890 banned monopolies to promote fair competition. Who was Harriet Tubman? A. Civil War general. B. President. C. Abolitionist and conductor. D. Women's rights leader. The correct answer is C. Abolitionist and conductor. Harriet Tubman was an abolitionist and conductor on the Underground Railroad. Who was a key muckraker who exposed corruption in the early 1900s? A. Frederick Douglass. B. Susan B. Anthony. C. Ida Tarbell. D. Elizabeth Cady Stanton. The correct answer is C. Ida Tarbell. Ida Tarbell exposed corruption in the oil industry, writing influential muckraking articles. What was the purpose of the Montgomery bus boycott? A. Promote bus integration. B. Reduce taxes. C. End slavery. D. Expand voting rights. The correct answer is A. Promote bus integration. The Montgomery bus boycott protested racial segregation on buses, sparked by Rosa Parks. What was the impact of the Roe v. Wade decision in 1973? A. Expanded voting rights. B. Ended segregation. C. Reduced taxes. D. Legalized abortion. The correct answer is D. Legalized abortion. Roe v. Wade legalized abortion nationwide, a landmark Supreme Court decision in 1973. What was the main goal of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, created in 1970? A. Protect the environment. B. Expand railroads. C. Promote civil rights. D. End slavery. The correct answer is A. Protect the environment. The EPA, created in 1970, protects the environment through regulations and conservation efforts. What was the significance of the Brown v. Board of Education decision? A. Granted voting rights. B. Expanded citizenship. C. Ended slavery. D. Ended school segregation. The correct answer is D. Ended school segregation. Brown v. Board of Education ended school segregation, a key civil rights victory. Which act imposed by Britain in 1765 required colonists to pay a tax on printed materials? A. Stamp Act. B. Sugar Act. C. Tea Act. D. Quartering Act. The correct answer is A. Stamp Act. The Stamp Act taxed printed materials, sparking colonial protests against British taxation. What was the significance of the GI Bill of 1944? A. Supported veterans' education. B. Ended segregation. C. Expanded railroads. D. Reduced taxes. The correct answer is A. Supported veterans' education. The GI Bill provided education and housing benefits to World War II veterans. What was the purpose of the Manhattan Project? A. End slavery. B. Promote civil rights. C. Develop nuclear weapons. D. Build railroads. The correct answer is C. Develop nuclear weapons. The Manhattan Project developed nuclear weapons, leading to the atomic bombs used in 1945. What amendment granted citizenship to former slaves? A. 13th Amendment. B. 19th Amendment. C. 15th Amendment. D. 14th Amendment. The correct answer is D. 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment granted citizenship and equal protection to former slaves. Who was the president during the end of the Cold War? A. Jimmy Carter. B. Bill Clinton. C. George H.W. Bush. D. Ronald Reagan. The correct answer is C. George H.W. Bush. George H.W. Bush was president when the Cold War ended with the Soviet Union's collapse. What was the main goal of the NAACP founded in 1909? A. Promote racial equality. B. Promote trade. C. End slavery. D. Expand railroads. The correct answer is A. Promote racial equality. The NAACP, founded in 1909, promoted racial equality and fought discrimination. What was the Voting Rights Act of 1965? A. Protected voting rights. B. Banned segregation. C. Ended slavery. D. Expanded immigration. The correct answer is A. Protected voting rights. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 protected African Americans' right to vote. What was the main purpose of the Patriot Act of 2001? A. Enhance national security. B. Promote trade. C. Reduce taxes. D. Expand civil rights. The correct answer is A. Enhance national security. The Patriot Act of 2001 enhanced national security by expanding surveillance powers. What was the purpose of the Monroe Doctrine? A. End slavery. B. Expand railroads. C. Limit European influence. D. Promote trade. The correct answer is C. Limit European influence. The Monroe Doctrine limited European influence in the Americas, asserting U.S. dominance. What was the significance of the Battle of Yorktown in 1781? A. Expanded slavery. B. Ended the Civil War. C. Started the Constitution. D. Ended the Revolution. The correct answer is D. Ended the Revolution. The Battle of Yorktown in 1781 ended the Revolution with a decisive American victory. What was the purpose of the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906? A. Protected consumers. B. Promoted trade. C. Ended slavery. D. Expanded railroads. The correct answer is A. Protected consumers. The Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 protected consumers by regulating food and drugs. What was the main cause of the American Revolution? A. Religious persecution. B. Trade disputes. C. Slavery. D. Taxation without representation. The correct answer is D. Taxation without representation. Taxation without representation fueled the American Revolution, as colonists demanded a voice. What was the progressive movement's main goal in the early 1900s? A. Expand westward. B. End slavery. C. Promote isolationism. D. Reform government and society. The correct answer is D. Reform government and society. The progressive movement sought to reform government and society, addressing corruption and inequality. What was the purpose of the Missouri Compromise of 1820? A. Limit immigration. B. Balance slave and free states. C. End the Civil War. D. Expand westward. The correct answer is B. Balance slave and free states. The Missouri Compromise balanced slave and free states by admitting Missouri and Maine. What 1954 Supreme Court case declared school segregation unconstitutional? A. Roe v. Wade. B. Brown v. Board of Education. C. Plessy v. Ferguson. D. Dred Scott v. Sanford. The correct answer is B. Brown v. Board of Education. Brown v. Board of Education ended school segregation, declaring it unconstitutional in 1954. What 1823 policy declared that the Americas were off limits to further European colonization? A. Missouri Compromise. B. Treaty of Paris. C. Monroe Doctrine. D. Emancipation Proclamation. The correct answer is C. Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine warned Europe against further colonization in the Americas. Who was the first woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court? A. Sandra Day O'Connor. B. Sonia Sotomayor. C. Elena Kagan. D. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The correct answer is A. Sandra Day O'Connor. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first woman appointed to the Supreme Court in 1981. What was the purpose of the Dawes Act of 1887? A. Assimilate Native Americans. B. End slavery. C. Expand railroads. D. Promote women's rights. The correct answer is A. Assimilate Native Americans. The Dawes Act aimed to assimilate Native Americans by dividing tribal lands into individual plots. What amendment abolished slavery in the United States? A. 15th Amendment. B. 19th Amendment. C. 13th Amendment. D. 14th Amendment. The correct answer is C. 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery throughout the United States in 1865. What was the primary goal of the Lewis and Clark expedition? A. Establish trade routes. B. Claim California. C. Fight Native Americans. D. Map the West. The correct answer is D. Map the West. The Lewis and Clark expedition mapped the West, exploring the Louisiana Purchase territory. What was the purpose of the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA? A. Expanded railroads. B. Ended slavery. C. Provided electricity to rural areas. D. Promoted trade. The correct answer is C. Provided electricity to rural areas. The TVA provided electricity to rural areas, improving infrastructure during the New Deal. Who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? A. Franklin Roosevelt. B. Woodrow Wilson. C. Theodore Roosevelt. D. Harry Truman. The correct answer is A. Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt led the U.S. through the Great Depression and World War II. What was the significance of the Battle of Gettysburg? A. Started the Revolution. B. Ended the Civil War. C. Ended slavery. D. Turning point in the Civil War. The correct answer is D. Turning point in the Civil War. The Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point, halting Confederate advances in 1863. What was the main goal of the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848? A. Promote women's rights. B. End slavery. C. Expand railroads. D. Reduce taxes. The correct answer is A. Promote women's rights. The Seneca Falls Convention in 1848 advocated for women's rights, including suffrage. What was the significance of the Dred Scott v. Sandford decision in 1857? A. Expanded citizenship. B. Ended segregation. C. Upheld slavery. D. Granted voting rights. The correct answer is C. Upheld slavery. The Dred Scott decision ruled that slaves were property, not citizens, escalating tensions. What was the significance of the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854? A. Allowed slavery in new territories. B. Ended slavery. C. Expanded railroads. D. Promoted trade. The correct answer is A. Allowed slavery in new territories. The Kansas-Nebraska Act allowed new territories to decide on slavery, sparking conflict. What amendment allowed women to vote in 1920? A. 15th Amendment. B. 13th Amendment. C. 14th Amendment. D. 19th Amendment. The correct answer is D. 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote in 1920, advancing gender equality. What was the first major battle of the Civil War? A. Battle of Gettysburg. B. Battle of Bull Run. C. Battle of Antietam. D. Battle of Vicksburg. The correct answer is B. Battle of Bull Run. The Battle of Bull Run was the first major Civil War battle, showing the war's intensity. What was the primary reason European colonists settled in Jamestown in 1607? A. Military conquest. B. Economic opportunity. C. Religious freedom. D. Political power. The correct answer is B. Economic opportunity. Jamestown was founded for economic opportunity, primarily to find gold and establish trade. What was the main goal of the populist movement in the late 1800s? A. End slavery. B. Expand railroads. C. Support farmers and workers. D. Promote trade. The correct answer is C. Support farmers and workers. The populist movement supported farmers and workers, advocating for economic reforms. What was the space race? A. World War II effort. B. Civil War conflict. C. U.S. Soviet competition. D. Trade expansion. The correct answer is C. U.S. Soviet competition. The space race was a U.S. Soviet competition to achieve space exploration milestones. What was the main cause of the Spanish-American War in 1898? A. Civil War. B. Slavery disputes. C. Gold rush. D. Sinking of the Maine. The correct answer is D. Sinking of the Maine. The sinking of the Maine sparked the Spanish-American War, blamed on Spanish aggression. What was the significance of the Watergate scandal? A. Led to Nixon's resignation. B. Ended Reconstruction. C. Started the Cold War. D. Expanded civil rights. The correct answer is A. Led to Nixon's resignation. The Watergate scandal led to Nixon's resignation after illegal political activities were uncovered. What was the significance of the September 11, 2001, attacks? A. Terrorist attacks. B. Great Depression. C. Ended the Cold War. D. Moon landing. The correct answer is A. Terrorist attacks. The September 11, 2001, attacks were terrorist strikes on the World Trade Center and Pentagon. What was the impact of the Internet in the late 20th century? A. Ended slavery. B. Promoted trade. C. Expanded railroads. D. Increased global communication. The correct answer is D. Increased global communication. The Internet increased global communication, transforming society and the economy. What was the main goal of the Reconstruction Acts of 1867? A. Rebuild the South. B. Limit immigration. C. Expand westward. D. End slavery. The correct answer is A. Rebuild the South. The Reconstruction Acts aimed to rebuild the South and protect freed slaves' rights. What is the name of the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution? A. Federalist Papers. B. Articles of Confederation. C. Emancipation Proclamation. D. Bill of Rights. The correct answer is D. Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, protects individual freedoms like speech and religion. What was the main goal of the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001? A. Promoted trade. B. Ended slavery. C. Improved education standards. D. Expanded railroads. The correct answer is C. Improved education standards. The No Child Left Behind Act aimed to improve education standards through testing and accountability. What was the purpose of the Federalist Papers? A. End slavery. B. Expand railroads. C. Support the Constitution. D. Declare independence. The correct answer is C. Support the Constitution. The Federalist Papers supported the Constitution's ratification, explaining its principles. What was the Underground Railroad? A. Trade network. B. Railroad expansion. C. Escape route for slaves. D. Military campaign. The correct answer is C. Escape route for slaves. The Underground Railroad was a network helping enslaved people escape to freedom. What was the main issue dividing the North and South in the 1850s? A. Slavery. B. Immigration. C. Trade tariffs. D. Taxation. The correct answer is A. Slavery. Slavery divided the North, which opposed it, and the South, which relied on it economically. What 1964 law banned discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin? A. Voting Rights Act. B. Pure Food Act. C. Civil Rights Act. D. Emancipation Proclamation. The correct answer is C. Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 banned discrimination in public places and employment. What reform movement in the early 1800s aimed to improve women's rights? A. Abolitionist movement. B. Labor movement. C. Temperance movement. D. Women's suffrage movement. The correct answer is D. Women's suffrage movement. The women's suffrage movement in the early 1800s fought for women's right to vote. What was the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794? A. Native American uprising. B. Tax Rebellion. C. Slave Rebellion. D. Labor strike. The correct answer is B. Tax Rebellion. The Whiskey Rebellion was a tax protest in 1794, quelled by federal authority. Which document, signed in 1620, established self-government for the Plymouth colony? A. Magna Carta. B. Constitution. C. Mayflower Compact. D. Articles of Confederation. The correct answer is C. Mayflower Compact. The Mayflower Compact set rules for self-government in Plymouth, signed by the Pilgrims in 1620. What was the main cause of the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War? A. Promote trade. B. Contain communism. C. Expand territory. D. End slavery. The correct answer is B. Contain communism. U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War aimed to contain communism in Southeast Asia. What was the main goal of the Great Society programs? A. Expand railroads. B. End poverty and inequality. C. Promote trade. D. End slavery. The correct answer is B. End poverty and inequality. The Great Society programs aimed to end poverty and inequality through social reforms. What was the impact of the Transcontinental Railroad completed in 1869? A. Expanded slavery. B. Ended the Civil War. C. Connected East and West. D. Reduced immigration. The correct answer is C. Connected East and West. The Transcontinental Railroad connected East and West, boosting trade and migration. What was the purpose of the Camp David Accords in 1978? A. Expand trade. B. Reduce taxes. C. End the Cold War. D. Promote peace in the Middle East. The correct answer is D. Promote peace in the Middle East. The Camp David Accords brokered peace between Israel and Egypt in 1978. What economic policy was associated with President Ronald Reagan in the 1980s? A. Reaganomics. B. Monroe Doctrine. C. New Deal. D. Great Society. The correct answer is A. Reaganomics. Reaganomics, under Ronald Reagan, promoted tax cuts and deregulation to boost the economy. What was the significance of the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution in 1964? A. Ended the Cold War. B. Promoted trade. C. Escalated the Vietnam War. D. Ended slavery. The correct answer is C. Escalated the Vietnam War. The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution escalated U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War in 1964. What was the Affordable Care Act of 2010? A. Promoted trade. B. Ended slavery. C. Reduced taxes. D. Expanded health care. The correct answer is D. Expanded health care. The Affordable Care Act of 2010 expanded health care access for millions of Americans. What was the purpose of the interstate highway system initiated in 1956? A. Expanded railroads. B. Promoted trade. C. Ended slavery. D. Improved transportation. The correct answer is D. Improved transportation. The interstate highway system improved transportation, boosting commerce and travel. Who was elected president in 1860, leading to Southern secession? A. Jefferson Davis. B. Abraham Lincoln. C. Ulysses S. Grant. D. Andrew Johnson. The correct answer is B. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln's election in 1860 prompted Southern states to secede, fearing abolition. What was the significance of the Plessy v. Ferguson decision in 1896? A. Ended segregation. B. Upheld segregation. C. Granted voting rights. D. Expanded citizenship. The correct answer is B. Upheld segregation. Plessy v. Ferguson upheld segregation, ruling separate but equal in 1896. What was the main economic activity in the southern colonies? A. Fishing. B. Plantation agriculture. C. Shipbuilding. D. Fur trading. The correct answer is B. Plantation agriculture. Plantation agriculture, relying on crops like tobacco and cotton, dominated the southern economy. Who were the robber barons in the late 1800s? A. Farmers. B. Industrial tycoons. C. Politicians. D. Abolitionists. The correct answer is B. Industrial tycoons. Robber barons were wealthy industrialists who amassed fortunes, often through unfair practices. What was the purpose of the War Powers Act of 1973? A. Promoted trade. B. Expanded railroads. C. Ended slavery. D. Limited presidential war powers. The correct answer is D. Limited presidential war powers. The War Powers Act of 1973 limited presidential war powers, requiring congressional approval. What was the significance of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803? A. Doubled U.S. territory. B. Ended the Civil War. C. Annexed Texas. D. Gained independence. The correct answer is A. Doubled U.S. territory. The Louisiana Purchase doubled U.S. territory, acquired from France for $15 million. What event brought the U.S. into World War II? A. Cuban Missile Crisis. B. D-Day invasion. C. Berlin airlift. D. Pearl Harbor attack. The correct answer is D. Pearl Harbor attack. The Pearl Harbor attack in 1941 by Japan prompted U.S. entry into World War II. Who was the primary author of the Declaration of Independence? A. George Washington. B. Thomas Jefferson. C. Benjamin Franklin. D. John Adams. The correct answer is B. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, outlining the colonies' break from Britain. What was the main cause of U.S. entry into World War I? A. German submarine attacks. B. Pearl Harbor attack. C. Cuban Missile Crisis. D. Cold War tensions. The correct answer is A. German submarine attacks. German submarine attacks on U.S. ships led to U.S. entry into World War I. What was the main cause of the War of 1812? A. Trade disputes. B. Slavery. C. Territorial expansion. D. Religious differences. The correct answer is A. Trade disputes. Trade disputes, including British impressment of U.S. sailors, led to the War of 1812. What was the Homestead Act of 1862? A. Abolished slavery. B. Built railroads. C. Ended Reconstruction. D. Gave free land to settlers. The correct answer is D. Gave free land to settlers. The Homestead Act gave free land to settlers to encourage westward expansion. What was the main purpose of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments? A. Protect civil rights. B. End slavery and grant rights. C. Rebuild the South. D. Expand railroads. The correct answer is B. End slavery and grant rights. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments abolished slavery, granted citizenship, and protected voting rights. What was the purpose of the Articles of Confederation? A. Create a national government. B. Establish a monarchy. C. End slavery. D. Declare independence. The correct answer is A. Create a national government. The Articles of Confederation created a weak national government for the newly independent states. What was the purpose of the Freedmen's Bureau during Reconstruction? A. Build railroads. B. Assist former slaves. C. Expand voting rights. D. End Reconstruction. The correct answer is B. Assist former slaves. The Freedmen's Bureau assisted former slaves with education, jobs, and housing during Reconstruction. What laws in the South restricted the rights of African Americans after the Civil War? A. Jim Crow laws. B. Black Codes. C. Civil Rights Acts. D. Reconstruction Acts. The correct answer is A. Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws enforced racial segregation in the South after the Civil War. What battle in 1777 was a turning point in the American Revolution? A. Battle of Yorktown. B. Battle of Bunker Hill. C. Battle of Lexington. D. Battle of Saratoga. The correct answer is D. Battle of Saratoga. The Battle of Saratoga convinced France to ally with the colonies, boosting the revolution. What was the impact of the Industrial Revolution in the U.S.? A. Increased urbanization. B. Reduced taxes. C. Promoted trade. D. Ended slavery. The correct answer is A. Increased urbanization. The Industrial Revolution increased urbanization, transforming the U.S. economy and society. What territory was acquired by the U.S. after the Spanish-American War? A. Texas. B. Florida. C. Puerto Rico. D. California. The correct answer is C. Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was acquired by the U.S. after defeating Spain in the Spanish-American War. Who was the first president of the United States? A. Thomas Jefferson. B. George Washington. C. John Adams. D. James Madison. The correct answer is B. George Washington. George Washington, the first president, served from 1789 to 1797, setting key precedents. What was the significance of the Stonewall riots in 1969? A. Ended slavery. B. Started the civil rights movement. C. Began the gay rights movement. D. Promoted trade. The correct answer is C. Began the gay rights movement. The Stonewall riots sparked the modern gay rights movement in 1969. What was the Compromise of 1850? A. Reduced taxes. B. Ended slavery. C. Expanded railroads. D. Balanced slave and free states. The correct answer is D. Balanced slave and free states. The Compromise of 1850 balanced slave and free states to reduce sectional tensions. What was the Trail of Tears? A. Cherokee forced removal. B. Slave rebellion. C. Gold Rush migration. D. Railroad expansion. The correct answer is A. Cherokee forced removal. The Trail of Tears was the forced removal of Cherokee Indians from their lands in the 1830s. Who was the first African American President of the United States? A. Bill Clinton. B. Barack Obama. C. George W. Bush. D. Joe Biden. The correct answer is B. Barack Obama. Barack Obama, elected in 2008, was the first African American president. What event in 1787 resulted in the creation of the U.S. Constitution? A. Continental Congress. B. Paris Peace Conference. C. Constitutional Convention. D. Albany Plan. The correct answer is C. Constitutional Convention. The Constitutional Convention in 1787 drafted the U.S. Constitution to replace the Articles. What was the purpose of the Marshall Plan after World War II? A. End slavery. B. Rebuild Europe. C. Promote civil rights. D. Expand railroads. The correct answer is B. Rebuild Europe. The Marshall Plan rebuilt Europe after World War II, countering Soviet influence. What was the New Deal? A. Military expansion. B. Economic recovery programs. C. Abolitionist program. D. Civil rights laws. The correct answer is B. Economic recovery programs. The New Deal was a series of programs by Roosevelt to provide economic recovery and relief. What was the main goal of the women's liberation movement in the 1960s and 1970s? A. End racial segregation. B. Expand voting rights. C. Promote gender equality. D. Reduce taxes. The correct answer is C. Promote gender equality. The women's liberation movement sought gender equality, including equal pay and rights. Who was a leading figure in the abolitionist movement in the 1830s? A. Abraham Lincoln. B. Jefferson Davis. C. Frederick Douglass. D. Ulysses S. Grant. The correct answer is C. Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was a leading abolitionist, advocating for the end of slavery through speeches. What did the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 do? A. Annexed new territories. B. Gave women voting rights. C. Freed slaves in rebel states. D. Ended the Civil War. The correct answer is C. Freed slaves in rebel states. The Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves in Confederate states, shifting the war's purpose. What battle in 1863 was a major turning point in the Civil War? A. Battle of Shiloh. B. Battle of Gettysburg. C. Battle of Antietam. D. Battle of Appomattox. The correct answer is B. Battle of Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point, halting the Confederate advance in 1863. Who was a leading figure in the civil rights movement known for nonviolent resistance? A. Malcolm X. B. Rosa Parks. C. Thurgood Marshall. D. Martin Luther King, Jr. The correct answer is D. Martin Luther King, Jr. Martin Luther King, Jr. led the civil rights movement with nonviolent protests and speeches. What compromise at the Constitutional Convention balanced representation for large and small states? A. Virginia Plan. B. Great Compromise. C. 3/5 Compromise. D. New Jersey Plan. The correct answer is B. Great Compromise. The Great Compromise balanced representation with equal Senate seats and population-based House seats. What was the main cause of the Great Depression starting in 1929? A. World War I. B. Stock market crash. C. Dust Bowl. D. Civil War. The correct answer is B. Stock market crash. The stock market crash of 1929 triggered the Great Depression, causing widespread economic hardship. What labor organization formed in 1869 advocated for workers' rights? A. Whig Party. B. Populist Party. C. Knights of Labor. D. Grange Movement. The correct answer is C. Knights of Labor. The Knights of Labor advocated for workers' rights, including better wages and hours. What was the significance of the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962? A. Started World War II. B. Ended the Cold War. C. Expanded trade. D. Prevented nuclear war. The correct answer is D. Prevented nuclear war. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 prevented nuclear war through U.S. Soviet negotiations. What invention in the 1790s increased the demand for slave labor in the South? A. Railroad. B. Telegraph. C. Cotton gin. D. Steam engine. The correct answer is C. Cotton gin. The cotton gin, invented by Eli Whitney, increased cotton production, boosting demand for slaves. What was the significance of the 19th Amendment? A. Ended slavery. B. Promoted trade. C. Granted women's suffrage. D. Expanded railroads. The correct answer is C. Granted women's suffrage. The 19th Amendment granted women's suffrage, allowing women to vote in 1920. What was the Cold War? A. Vietnam War. B. U.S. Soviet rivalry. C. Civil War. D. War with Britain. The correct answer is B. U.S. Soviet rivalry. The Cold War was a U.S. Soviet rivalry, marked by political and military tensions.